two boats could break the 40-minute barrier. But even at the start, fate can take a hand. Bullet 1, carrying number 13, and the most highly competitive outboard in the race, has a sudden motor fail just as the skiers are being lifted from the water. As the smoke clears, boat number 15 has to take action to avoid the skiers in the water and their ropes. Confusion reigns for a moment. Then the motor fires again and Bullet 1 is off in pursuit of the field. But this has already cost the team some 1 minute and 40 seconds of downtime. The basic investment in racing boats and equipment is quite amazing. If taken that each boat was only valued at $6,000, this would mean the value of the machinery would be well in excess of $2 million. Some boats cost their owners $20,000 to $30,000 to build and prepare for this event. From the start at Dangar Island, up to the first two bridges on the river, is traditionally the roughest part of the course. Fortunately for the skiers, today's conditions are not as rough as can sometimes be experienced. But at the same time, any rough water can really take it out of a skier at high speeds. Under the Lower Brooklyn Bridge, one of the bridges that the event gets its name from, and Bullet 1 is really smoking. We tracked Bullet 1 in the helicopter over this part of the race and clocked his speed at 94 miles per hour. With the overseas competitors, reactions all varied to the water conditions of this year's Bridge to Bridge.
We race, our national races are all 50 miles plus on the ocean. We have one or two inland races, but as we're an island, we've got so much sea around us that we use seaside resorts. We're well experienced with the distance and the time it takes. As I said before, the skiers are very physically fit. They spend a lot of time working out, and I don't envisage any problems with distance or the conditions.
The gear we use comes from Australia. It's Freddie Williams skis and his equipment. We use different boats because we race on the sea, so we use deep V boats. They're not as fast as these over here, so we basically got to get used to the speed.
Do you think that rough water ability will be better for you, or?
No, not really. It's a different sort of skiing, and rough water is it's hard to explain, but skiing on the flat water is just out and out go, you know, just hang on.
The speed differences, like what sort of speeds would you do in England outside to the speeds that you're going to do here?
75, 80 on good days. Over here you're skiing near the hundreds, so it's a fair difference.
We're using the same sort of skis because I told you before the Australian skis are the best, I think, but kind of racing is different. We race on channel waters and it's very, very rough. They got walls like you've got over there, straight walls, and when the water coming to the walls, it's coming back. And we've got small courses of 5 kilometers, so you can have waves of 2 meters high sometimes, and it comes from every side. So it's a whole different way from skiing. This is choppy water, so not higher than 2 feet, and it's really whole different. We are used to skiing on rough water, but not on flat water.
Up ahead, the earlier boats are making good use of the smooth water, and it looks like some records could go today. The wake of a boat is a very important factor in ski racing, since this will significantly affect the physical load placed on the skiers through the whole event. The bigger inboard boats have generally been considered to flatten out the water more for their skiers, and this makes it possible on some occasions for two skiers to ride shoulder to shoulder within the wake. Outboards, and the smaller capacity inboards on the other hand, will often leave less imprint on the water, and a one skier outside the wake, one skier inside configuration is preferred. A specific local hazard with the bridge-to-bridge is caused by two cable-operated vehicle ferries that have to ply across the river during the race itself. Marshals work closely with the ferry captains in order to minimize the difficulties, but when a ferry is crossing, the boats must stop. The driver's tactics can vastly affect the outcome of the race at this point. The options are whether to drop the skiers and stop, with all the inherent risks of restarting a hot racing motor again, or to turn and go back down the river and just hope to time it right on the next approach. Tactics can get fairly involved at this point of the race as drivers and teams vie for the best position. And in the confusion, it's not uncommon for a trailing set of ski lines to be cut by another's propeller. Another factor with this type of racing is the need to keep the high revving motor at a working temperature all the time. Practically all the race engines are water-cooled, but on some of the very fast straights, very little of the boat remains in the water all the time, and sometimes the cooling system gets starved for enough water to stop the motor from overheating. This particular problem occurs more often with the inboard boats than with the outboards, where the leg generally stays submerged for most of the time. From a skier's point of view, it's a long way to go at 90 to 100 miles an hour. After Wiseman's Ferry, which is about halfway up the course, it's fast straights and fast curves to the finish.
You're usually absolutely wrecked because it's such a long way. You get to Wiseman's Ferry, which is nearly halfway, and you think, oh, that's got only half to go. But the second half is what nearly kills you after running hard for 35 miles. You then got to turn a lot more corners, short straights, so you really got to give everything into it. I think your mental approach is the most important thing in this race. You've got to go into the race with the approach that you can do it, you know, you can handle the speed and you can go hard all the way.